Hey there, I'm Angelique, and today we're going to talk about how to sell to corporate clients. Today we're going to talk about if you are a consultant, an executive coach, a professional services provider, and you are selling to corporate clients or other types of organizations, you are playing in an entirely different playing field than 99% of the other self-employed experts and micro business owners out there. And today we're going to talk about what makes selling to corporate clients so different, what strategies you need to leave on the sidelines because they're not a fit for you at all, as well as what you need to be doing in order to be successful in working with high-end, high-paying, high-impact organizations as your clients. And be sure to stay tuned because before we wrap up today, I have a free gift for you that's going to help you take these strategies a lot deeper and build a complete blueprint for how you're successful as a David who's working with the Goliath. So we'll talk more about that free gift before we go. The two biggest mistakes that small business owners make when they're looking to work with corporate and other organizational clients is they either start hunting for that magic bullet, that one tactic that's going to solve all of their problems, or they try to take strategies that they learned from the B2C world, the online marketing world, and they try to force fit those into working with corporations, but it never works. Neither of those approaches are successful. So first, let's start by talking about the three biggest challenges that you need to overcome as a small business owner working in the B2B world. The first challenge that you need to overcome is not having enough decision makers to talk to. The second challenge that you need to overcome is, by default, they don't want to talk to you. And the third challenge is when you do finally get an opportunity to talk to them, having the wrong conversations. I'm going to walk you through all three of those challenges and what you need to be thinking about in order to be truly successful in this highly lucrative and very rewarding marketplace. So let's talk more about that first challenge, not having enough decision makers to talk to. Here's the hard truth. At any given time, only about 1% to 3% of your ideal right fit target clients are even in a place of making a buying decision for whatever type of expertise you offer, whether you're offering consulting services, leadership coaching services, professional services. At any given time, it is such a small portion of the marketplace that is really in a ready now place to work with an outside expert like you. So when we first start working with small business owners at Bold House, one of the things that often comes up is they feel like they're being just so visible out in the marketplace. They have social media accounts on all of the major channels. They're publishing content every single day. They have their website, and it feels like they're doing a lot of things. But the truth is they're only in conversation with a handful of decision makers. And clients can't buy from you if they don't even know you exist. So the first challenge that you need to overcome is casting a much broader net in the marketplace. You need to have so many connections with decision makers. The second challenge that we talked about was that by default, they don't want to talk to you. And it's nothing personal. It's not you, and it's not because you're not great at what you do. It's not even because they don't value the type of things that you as a consultant or a coach or a trainer or an expert is bringing to their organization. It's that number one, they are insanely busy. A lot of decision makers today are spending up to 80% of their work week in meetings and on Zoom. They don't have time to spend talking to people on the outside. The second reason that they don't want to talk to you is because they hate being sold to. Most of their experience in dealing with outside experts or professional salespeople who drive them crazy and think that they can push them into making a buying decision based on their time frame, not on what's urgent to that decision maker. So they really try to avoid sales meetings. And the third reason they avoid talking to you is because they don't actually think they need you right now. The truth is they probably do. And even if they weren't ready to get started working on a consulting engagement or bring you in for a training engagement or coach some of their employees, the lead time that they need to ultimately make the right buying decision is far before they ever get started. So they wait till the last minute, because a lot of times when your phone rings or you get that email, of course, it's the very last minute. So in their mind, they don't need to talk to you yet, even though right now would be the perfect time to talk to you. And then the third challenge that I shared with you is having the wrong conversation when you do talk to them. And one of the big mistakes folks make there is they try to go straight into needs discovery. They get in front of the decision maker and they essentially start poking the decision maker with a stick, hoping to find a pain point that decision maker says, "Oh, ouch, that hurts," just so that they can sell that decision maker something. But that is a very backwards way to do it. First and foremost, the decision makers know exactly what you're doing, and they're really not wanting to share what their pain points are because they know the second that they're vulnerable and transparent on that, somebody's going to basically leap onto the opportunity to start trying to sell them something, which is very uncomfortable. But also, you haven't built up your credibility, you haven't built up your trust and your rapport with them. And so we want to make sure when you do finally get that seat at the table with decision makers, you're really showing up with a level of entrepreneurial maturity that's going to have you stand out from all the other experts and outside service providers that they have ever met with before. And the great thing about that is when you do it the right way, it not only feels better for them, it feels a lot better for you too, because I have a good suspicion that you don't want to be salesy and you don't want to feel like that icky salesperson. That's a really good instinct to have. We don't want you to feel that way either. If you feel it, guess what? Your prospects, they're experiencing it too. So we'll talk even more in just a minute about some of these strategies. Okay, so now that we've talked about what these 3 challenges are that you need to solve as that outside expert, let's look at some of the strategies you can use to overcome each of these challenges. So we said the first challenge was not having enough decision makers to talk to. The next thing I need to tell you is that content is not king. Now that may sound crazy because here I am doing a video on YouTube, but you have to remember that decision makers are spending very little time on social media. And even if they are online looking at content, a lot of times they're spending that time with trusted sources of information that their organization is a part of. And we're talking about those industry associations, those professional associations, those publications like CIO Magazine or Chief Learning Officer Magazine. Their primary sources of information are centers of influence that they know and trust for both their profession as well as their industry, as opposed to scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn looking for influencers that have various types of expertise. Plus, in addition to that, and we'll talk about this in another video, but one of the things you have to understand is a lot of the content that you're putting out probably isn't designed to really shape and influence the way that the decision maker is thinking about the challenges that they are facing enterprise-wide in their organization. So how do you have more decision makers to talk to? Well, you go with a radical level of visibility in front of these decision makers on platforms that they already know and trust. And the great news for you is that there are tens of thousands of organizations that have already built their credibility and their audience with the very decision makers that you want to get in front of. And so one of the fastest things that you can do in order to massively increase your proximity to and your engagement with real decision makers is by leveraging these platforms that already exist through webinars, speaking opportunities, podcast appearances, even contributing content to their blogs and their publications. And so we're going to talk more about that in that free gift I promised, in terms of how you're able to build relationships and really leverage these other organizations who already have all those decision makers that you're looking to get in front of. The second challenge we talked about is the fact that they don't want to talk to you. And just nurturing these decision makers with even more content for them to read is not the fastest way to encourage them to spend time with you. Trust me, there's no decision maker out there today who's lying awake at night saying, gosh, I hope when I wake up tomorrow morning, there's even more e-newsletters and blog articles in my inbox for me to add to my reading list. That is not what they're thinking about. They're thinking about all of their challenges and all of their to-do lists and all of their upcoming meetings on their calendars. So one of the greatest ways to really break through in selling to corporate clients is by taking the time to engineer reasons that decision makers would actually want to spend time meeting with you. And a lot of times this looks like assessments or strategic debriefs or insights briefings on the latest changes that are happening in the marketplace right now. These are engineered reasons. We call these at Bold House bridge strategies because they bridge you from just having visibility in the marketplace to actually getting in front of that decision maker one-on-one, where you can really build rapport and educate them, and more importantly, influence them on how to think about solving the problems that they need to solve in their organization, whether that's their team, their department, their division, or the entire enterprise. And then that last challenge that we talked about is having the right conversations when you are talking to them. And here's the thing, there are 5 different types of sales conversations that you need to be a master at when it comes to working with corporate clients. And each of those conversations is different based on the readiness level of that decision maker to solve a problem inside their organization. Because, as I said at the beginning, only 1 to 3% are really in a ready now place. That is a very, very different conversation than the decision maker who's thinking about, maybe 3 to 6 months from now, we actually need to do something about this. Versus the decision maker who's like, I don't think this is a priority for us this year, but what do I need to know more about this problem? So each one of these readiness levels requires a different type of a conversation. And as you progress in every opportunity with a decision maker, you need to progress the conversations that you're having as well. So that brings us to the free gift that I promised you at the beginning, which is our free Quickstart guide, the $1 Million Plus Boutique Firm. And the reason I wrote this was because over the last 18 plus years, we have worked with over 15,000 small business owners all over the world to help them win and work with corporate clients, and even more importantly, to land and expand with those corporate clients. So let me just share with you just a little bit of what's in this free guide for you. We're gonna share with you how to expand your $1 million plus connections so you're able to connect with the right decision makers in the right way. We're gonna share with you how to engineer your $1 million plus influence. So when you have the opportunity to engage with those discerning decision makers, you're able to build the maximum credibility and shape how they're thinking about working with your organization and ensure they're going to work with you for the long term. I'm going to share with you the 9 biggest differences between working with B2C clients or individual clients versus working with organizations and B2B clients. Once you understand these differences, you'll be sure to focus on the strategies that are really going to set you up for long-term growth and continued success. And perhaps most importantly, we're going to talk about how to master $1 million plus conversations with the people at the top so that you're able to close more business and keep those clients for the long haul. You can get the entire free Quickstart guide at wincorporate.com. wincorporateclients.com. That's wincorporateclients.com. And that link is right below. And you're going to want to make sure you download it before you forget. All right, I'll see you on the other side.